Good day, everyone. I am Maria Cristina Piso Petran, and we are the Group 4 reporters for today. In our previous discussion, we learned about ourselves. So for today, we are going to tackle about the spiritual self. But before that, did you know that there are over 4,000 religions all over the world? But there are only 5 major religions, which are the Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Judaism. So going back to our main topic, according to William James in his book, The Principle of Psychology in 1890, the spiritual self is one of the 4 constituents of the self. Why? Because the spiritual self is the most intimate, inner subjective part of the self. The satisfaction experienced when thinking of one's ability to argue and discriminate, of one's moral sensibility and conscience, and of our unconquerable will is purer than all other sentiments of satisfactions. It means that our spiritual self is most intimate version of the self because ito yung perspective natin sa life. Andito yung tinatawag nating morality ng isang tao. And mas nasasatisfy tayo kapag nafe-feel natin na mas superior ang moral sensibility or beliefs natin kaysa sa ibang tao. Furthermore, subjective ang spiritual self kasi bawat isa sa atin ay may kanya-kanyang pinaniniwalaan or beliefs pagdating sa mga bagay-bagay. Spiritual self is universal, carries the potential of awareness, is permanent, ageless, and provides centeredness and compassion. It is universal in a way that everyone can be a spiritual person, and permanent kasi once na nahanap na natin ang real meaning of life, ay hindi na ito nagbabago or magbabago ng basta-basta lang. The spiritual self is the most unique and individual component of oneself is without a doubt their spiritual selves, because one's moral sense, conscience, and will are purer than all other feelings. There is a joy in debating and being able to recognize them, which is why it is said to be the most intimate element of the self. Hence, a spiritual person is someone who has a greater connection with himself, to others, and with environment, or some philosophies may call it connection with cosmos. One of the best traits that you can have in life is the ability to use judgment and maintain an open mind when you face a belief system that differs from your own. It will only happen if you are a spiritual person because you know yourself more than them. So even if you have different beliefs, it will not matter. To sum it all up, spirituality is not just about believing in divine or in God. It is intimate because we can find our inner self and the true meaning of life. It is also universal because everyone can be a spiritual person. Lastly, spirituality is sacred because a spiritual person has a greater connection to himself, to others, as well as to environment and to God. Next, let's proceed to the origins of spirituality. The definition of spirit is the animating or life-giving principle in man and animals. It derives from the Latin word spiritus, which means soul, ghost, courage, energy, and breath, which is related to the Old French term spirit, which means to breathe. The Greek pneuma and the Hebrew ruach are translated into the Latin word spiritus in the Vulgate. In other words, ang spirit ay ang ating soul or inner self. On the other hand, the word spiritual, which refers to the things concerning the spirit, originates from the Old French word spirituel, which in turn comes from the Latin word spiritualis, which is derived from spiritus or spirit. Sa spiritual naman, ito ay related sa ating religions or beliefs na meron ng isang tao. And lastly, the word spirituality comes from the Middle French word spiritualité, which itself is derived from the Latin spiritualitatem or nominative spiritualitas, which is itself derived from the Latin word spirituis, or it is the process of developing yourself in order for you to find the real meaning of life. So when we say spirit, it is the inner self or soul, while spiritual is related to our religions and beliefs. It affects the spirit. And lastly, when we say spirituality, it is the process of developing yourself in order for you to find the real meaning of life. It is also about seeking a meaningful connection with something bigger than yourself. We have 4 types of spirituality: the prayer, meditation, retreats, and yoga. First, we have the prayer. The practice of God's presence is prayer. It is the location where arrogance is put aside, hope is raised, and supplication is offered. The area where we acknowledge our dependence on God, adopt humility, and accept our need is in prayer. Prayer is an act of communication with God. Dito natin nasasabi kung ano talaga ang mga bagay na gusto natin and napapakita natin kung sino ba talaga tayo. Every time we pray, kasi we don't receive judgment or any comments, kasi one-way communication process ito. Although wala tayong nakukuhang verbal response, we still keep on praying because we believe on God and we have faith in Him. Kagaya na lang kapag we experience difficulties in life or kapag may mga problems, we seek for God's help through prayers kasi naniniwala tayo sa Kanya. Second, we have meditation. It is a type of mental training that improves focus and awareness. Its main goal is to prevent overreacting to one's unpleasant emotions, which, while they may be upsetting and disturbing and occasionally divert attention, are always transient. Ginagawa ang meditation para maging mentally stable and emotionally calm. Sa meditation, fino-focus ang attention sa isang bagay and it helps to clear your mind. Ang spiritual meditation naman, ginagawa para magkaroon ng enlightenment kung sino ba talaga tayo. In short, by doing meditation, we can find peace. Retreats. A spiritual retreat is time set apart with purpose to disconnect from the stresses of the outside world and enter into a deeper relationship with God and oneself. Ito yung kadalasang ginagawa kapag malapit na graduate ang mga students. Nag-organize ang school or mga faculty members ng retreats para makarelax and unwind yung mga students kasi they have experienced a very stressful academic year. Sa retreats, kadalasan pumupunta sa inclusive places or calm yung vibes ng lugar. Pwedeng sa mga provinces or any rural areas. Ang ginagawa kadalasan sa retreats ay devotions, counseling, and nag-share ng key takeaways sa life. Ang purpose naman ng retreats ay to disconnect from the stress of the outside world and to know yourself more and, of course, to heal yourself. Lastly, we have yoga. It is a physical, mental, and spiritual practice that originated in ancient India. The word yoga is derived from Sanskrit root yuj, meaning to yoke or to unite. The practice aims to create union between body, mind, and spirit, as well as between the individual self and universal consciousness. Such a union tends to neutralize ego-driven thoughts and behaviors, creating a sense of spiritual awakening. Yoga is a practice that connects our body and mind. It uses physical posture and breathing exercises. It helps to feel less overwhelmed by focusing on the breath that can create more space in mind, which helps you to clarify your thoughts. Now, let's talk about experts' definition of spirituality. According to Suceda, the best way to understanding your spirituality is by exploring your spiritual core. By doing this, you are simply asking yourself questions about who you are and your meaning, which is your most personal piece of your life. All people like to live a life with meaning and purpose. Everyone should be in harmony with one's life, including those you surround yourself with. Ang sabi ni Suceda, you can find your spirituality by knowing first kung sino ka ba talaga and kung anong purpose mo sa life. Kasi if we all know our purpose in life, alam natin kung ano ang mga bagay na dapat nating gawin. In that way, nagkakaroon tayo ng harmony and pagkakaisa-isa sa ating community. The root meaning of spirituality is taken from the Latin word spiritus, meaning breath or life force. Spirituality can be understood as the search for the sacred, a process which people seek to discover, hold on to, and when necessary, transform whatever they hold sacred in their lives. According naman kay Hill and Parkamet, ang spirituality ay isang process patungkol sa paghahanap or patungkol sa sacred sa paghahanap sa kung ano ba talaga ang tunay at totoo. According to Christina Puchalski, MD, Director of the George Washington Institute for Spirituality and Health, contends that spirituality is the aspect of humanity that refers to the way individuals seek and express meaning and purpose and the way they experience their contentness to that moment, to self, to others, to nature, and to the significant or secret. Pinaniniwalaan niya na ang spirituality ay about sa connection na meron tayo from ourselves to other people, places, even animals and nature, and of course to the divine or to God. According to Mario Beauregard and Dennis Oliari, researchers and authors of the spiritual brain, spirituality means any experiences that is thought to bring the experience into contact with the divine. It means, in other words, not just an experience that feels meaningful. These experts define spirituality based on how they view the world. But if we observe deeper, we can see that the real meaning of spirituality is about finding the truth and the meaning of our life. Gaya nga ng sabi ko a while ago, spirituality is the most intimate version of the self kasi here lies the truth about us and what we want to do in our life. Furthermore, andito rin ang ating morality wherein tinatanggap natin ang characteristics na meron tayo, whether it would be the goodness or the badness that we have as a human. Religion and spirituality. Both spirituality and religion are ways to reach God. They each take a different approach though. A person who practices their religion consciously and who believes in a god or pantheon of gods is referred to as being religious. A spiritual self, on the other hand, gives less weight to ideas and traditions and is more focused on developing their spirituality and coming into contact with the divine. It means that religion and spirituality ay parehong paraan to reach God. However, when we say religious, ito yung tao na devoted kay God and ginagawa ang mga practices and traditions that they have, such as praying or kneeling down to a statue that they have, na sa tingin nila ay mas mapapalapit sila kay God. In other words, in order for you to be religious, you have to follow certain rules and honor the beliefs of the religion you belong to. For example, may religion na bawal magkupit ng buhok because kapag ginupit mo yung buhok mo, it means na mas iiksi yung lifespan mo. And for you to become a religious person, you need to follow the rules and hindi mo gugupitin yung buhok mo kahit gano'n na siya kahaba. On the other hand, ang spiritual person naman ay walang traditions. They believe more that by knowing yourself, it means na mas mapapalapit sila sa divine or sa God. Because spirituality is about connecting more to yourself, to others, and to God more than believing in traditions and beliefs. Religion is the relationship between people and things they hold sacred, holy, absolute, spiritual, divine, or deserving of a special reverence. It is also frequently seen to include how people approach questions regarding the end of their life and what will happen to them after they pass away. Many traditions describe this relationship and these issues in terms of one's attitude toward gods or spirits. More humanistic or naturalistic forms of religions express them in terms of one's attitude toward the larger human society or the natural environment. When we say religion, it means the relationship that we have to God, their God, divine, or even spirits. Sa religion, we have different traditions based sa kung ano ang paniniwalaan natin. We also have different approach patungkol sa questions about life, kung anong mangyayari after death. Bawat religion ay may kanya-kanyang sagot sa katanungan na yan. According to Peschke, the experience of the holy is defined in Christian ethics by reverence, faith, fear, trust, love, and adoration that are closely related to God. The realization of the ultimate significance of transcendence and human life is considered as requiring worship. Prayer, reading from the Bible, partaking in sacraments, and offering sacrifices are all examples of acts of worship. In Christian, they believe in the holy as closely related to God. They worship them by praying and offering sacrifices. Ito yung ginagawa noon ng mga Christian na nag-offer sila ng sheep or goat to prove their faith. According to Amélie Durkheim, religion is a cohesive system of ideas and practices relating to sacred objects, that is, things set apart and forbidden. These beliefs and practices bring all individuals who adhere to them together into a single moral community known as church. Ang religion daw ay isang cohesive system kung saan they worship a God. And ang mga practices na ginagawa nila or rituals and mga sacred ornaments ay makikita sa church. Also, a church is a sacred place wherein people who have the same religion will gather to perform their traditions and certain duties in that religion. Meanwhile, Giddens sees religion as a cultural system of commonly shared beliefs and rituals that provide a sense of ultimate meaning by creating an idea of reality that is sacred, all-encompassing, and supernatural. It is the beliefs that are learned and shared across groups of peoples. He identified key elements of religions, such as A. Religion is a form of culture shares. All characteristics of culture, such as shared beliefs, values that create an identity. Ang religion ay form ng culture shares. It means na ang mga characteristics ng culture and their beliefs ay napapas and ang mangyayari, nagiging part na siya ng religion. B. Religious involves beliefs that take the form of rituals practices. All members engage in behaviors that identify them as members of the community. Bawat religion ay may kanya-kanyang paniniwala. And may ibang religions na nagpa-practice ng rituals. For example, para ma-identify ka as Christian, kailangan mo munang mabaptismuhan. And lastly, letter C, religion provides a sense of purpose, feeling that life is ultimately meaningful. Spirituality is connected with religion. Kasi we have a high moral once that we are a religious person. All religions recognize the importance of spirituality in one's life. One's spirituality may be expressed through religion and participation in religious rituals and ceremonies.
Types of religion. Christianity. Christianity is based on the life, experiences, and teaching of Jesus Christ. It considered Jesus to be the Son of God. Approximately 2.1 billion followers. The monotheistic, which is believe in one God, niniwala sa isang Diyos. Christianity is one of the largest of the world religions with followers spread across all the continents. Islam. The followers of Islam are known as Muslims, and its teachings are lucidly expressed in the Quran. It's a sacred text or Bible. Islam is a Abrahamic monotheistic religion centered on Quran. The teachings of Muhammad, adherent of Islam called Muslims, number approximately 1.6 billion followers and are the world's second largest religion population after Christians. Muslims believe that Islam is the complete and universal version of primordial faith that was revealed many times through early prophets such as Adam, Abraham, Noah, Moses, and Isa, among others. The five pillars of Islam. Number 1. Shahada, or faith. The declaration of faith in one God, Allah, and His Messenger, peace be upon him. Number 2. Salah, or prayer. The ritual prayer requires of every Muslim 5 times a day throughout their lifetime. Number 3. Zakat, or almsgiving. The act of giving a portion of Muslims' wealth to those in need through their lifetime. Sun, or fasting. The act of fasting during the holy month of Ramadan. Number 5. Hajj, or pilgrimage. The sacred of pilgrimage to Mecca required of every Muslim at least once in their lifetime, if it is within their means. Next, Hinduism. Approximate 1 billion followers. Hinduism is a predominant henotheistic or believe in one God but not refusing the existence of others, who may also be worshipped. Religion of India subcontinent, and is considered to be the oldest surviving religious tradition in the world. The religion developed step by step throughout the ages and has no designated founders. Adherents of Hinduism are known as Hindus. Next, Buddhism. Buddhism is originated as the heterodox religious ideology, sometimes between 600 BC and 400 BC in the Indian subcontinent, when Orthodox Brahmanism became very strident and exploitative, especially towards the lower classes. Siddhartha Gautama, commonly called the Buddha, the Enlightened One, came up with the new philosophical doctrines and established a sect of Yellow Robe, followers belonging to all strata of the society. 4 Noble Truth. Number 1. Life is full of suffering. Reflects a perspective of human condition often associated with philosophical and existential discussion. It suggests that suffering in various form is inherent and pervasive aspect of human existence. Desire is the root of all suffering. This is a fundamental concept in Buddhism and is often attributed to be the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, who became known as the Buddha. This idea is encapsulated in the first noble truth of Buddhism, which is the life of suffering. Suffering can be overcome by eliminating all desires. It is a concept closely associated with a certain interpretation of Buddhist philosophy. It represents a fundamental teaching in Buddhism and is based on the belief that attachment and craving, which are rooted in desires, lead to suffering. Eliminating of desires can be attained by following the Noble Eightfold Path. Is a fundamental principle in Buddhist philosophy. The Noble Eightfold Path is one of the core teachings of Buddhism and it provides a practical guide for living a life that leads to cessation of suffering and the attainment of enlightenment or liberation from suffering. The Eightfold Path. The path to nirvana, comprising 8 aspects in which an aspirant must become practice, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. The Noble Eightfold Path distinguishes itself from many teachings. It is positive, affirmative nature. Many spiritual teaching consists of don'ts, don't do this, don't do that. The Noble Eightfold Path speaks in positive, warm terms, implied within the concept of right might be the opposite of wrong. But Buddha taught that self-empowerment, not prohibitions. He taught that Eightfold Path in his first teaching at Deer Park. Sikhism, a monotheistic religion founded by Guru Nanak in the 15th century, is one of the world's youngest religions. This religious faith, established in the Punjab region of northwestern India with a limited number of followers in the beginning, though Sikh diaspora is quite visible present in a numerous parts of the world. Punjab remains the only religion where majority of the population is Sikh. A devoted Sikh is expected to be an amalgam or saint and soldier. That is to say, must be the both compassionate as well as aggressive and should be able to distinguish between good and evil and apply his traits accordingly. Next, Judaism is the oldest of Abrahamic faith which also include Christianity and Islam. It is also the oldest monotheistic religion of the world. It was founded in the Middle East around 3,500 years ago by the prophet called Moses, to whom it is believed that God revealed that his laws and commandments. That Tanakh or the Hebrew Bible is the Jewish canonical text through which most of the religion has been studied and understood. In Judaism, the concept of God and his relationship with humankind has been brought out in very interesting manner. Next, Baha'i Faith. The youngest monotheistic religious tradition in the world was founded in Iran in 1863 by a man called Baha'u'llah. The very crux of this faith lies in the spiritual unity of mankind, which can be achieved if all the individual function in harmony for the common benefits of human race. The divine messenger prophets of God form the base of this faith. It is believed that the history of humankind can be unraveled through the teaching of a series of divine messengers who established their own religious faith according to the needs of the period during which they live. Next, Jainism emerged as a heterodox sect of Brahmanism, which transformed as the full-fledged religious ideology in 600 BC. Vardhamana Mahabhira rose to prominence as important proponent of Jainism, who managed to build up a large group of followers for the faith. The Jaina philosophy promotes a non-violent and harmless existence for the welfare of the universe. Traditionally, there have been 24 Tirthankaras, fold makers, who preached the faith in people to achieve salvation. Lastly, Zoroastrianism, founded by the prophet Zoroaster in ancient Persia, present-day Iran, about 3,500 years ago. Zoroastrianism is one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions. For about 1,000 years ago, after its foundation, the religion remains one of the most influential faiths in the world, and it was also the official religion of Persia from 600 BC to 650 AD. The adherents of Zoroastrianism are known as the Zoroastrians.
Spirit and soul. Your soul speaks of your inner life in relationship to your own experience, your mind, heart, will, and imagination. It also includes your thoughts, desires, passions, and dreams. But your spirit speaks of the same inner life in relationship to God, your faith, hope, love, and character. Linawa of Ifugao. Ang salitang Ifugao ay sinasabing hinango mula sa salitang Ifugu, nangangahulugang galing sa bundok, ngunit po, sinasabi din nito ay tumutukoy sa aning bigay na ibinigay sa kanila ng kanilang Diyos na si Matulangan. Matatagpuan ng mga Ifugao sa bundok ng Cordillera sa may hilagang Luzon. Ang mga Ifugao ay sumasamba sa kapaligiran at sa madaming ritual at sakripisyo. Ang sinusunod ng mga Ifugao upang mapasaya ang kanilang mga Diyos dahil naniniwala sila ito ay maakdang ng magandang pagyayari sa kanilang tribo. Ang halimbawa ng mga ritual na ito ay pag-alay ng alak at pagpatay ng mga hayop para sa mga Diyos, lalo na kapag mayroong may sakit sa kanila. Madami pang mga ritual ang kasama nito upang po mapawi lamang ang mga sakit ng tao. Cladding, the soul of the new death or the ancestral spirit. Among the Ifugaos, they believe that there are two souls in the human body, one in the eyes, and the other in the breath. Illness in the person is caused by the withdrawal of the soul from the eyes. On the other hand, death is caused by the withdrawal of the soul in the breath. Ibaloy, afterlife is populated by ancestors, spirits, and explains animal sacrifice. Ibaloy, afterlife is inhabited by ancestral spirits. In their spiritual world, the soul who arrives with physical treasures receives a great welcome. Among the Ibaloys, whatever they have dead loved ones, they provide the dead person with things such as cash or animals. If a dead loved one enters the spiritual world empty-handed, she or he can become an object of scorn or hate. The dead spirit may feel insecure and unwelcome, and this may cause the spirit to bring evil, disease, and death to his or her relatives and families. Esneng Kadua. Believe that death exists in other world. Yung mga Esneng Kadua po is naniniwala sila pag namatay yung isang tao is mag-i-exist pa yun sa ibang mundo. Like, for example, parallel world or paradise world. Kan Kanaeya is the spiritual self as opposite to physical self. They call the spiritual self as Abik, while the physical self is called Awak. Abik ay maaari ding tumukoy sa mga bagay na walang buhay gaya ng mga mountain, trees, or river. Tagalog soul, kaluluwa. Kaluluwa can leave the body involuntarily. The kaluluwa refers more the soul of the deceased. Kaluluwa refers to the soul of the deceased. Kakambal refers to the soul of living person. The kakambal may wander, travel at night, and it may experience bad encounters which will in turn cause nightmares or bangungot. Nakakambal becomes kaluluwa after that. Ilocano, Karuwa, Karkarma, Aniwas, and Araria. The first soul of the Ilocanos is called the Karuwa. Karuwa is equivalent to the Christian soul and only leave a person after death. Aside from Karuwa, the Ilocanos have three other souls. The first one, Karkarma, it is the soul that may leave the body when one is pregnant, or it can be stolen. If it failed to return to the body, the owner will become insane. If lost, a sacrificial ceremony should be done to attract Karkarma back to the owner's body. Karkarma also stands for natural vigor and mind and reason. The second one, Aniwas, it can leave the body during sleep and visit places familiar to the body. If one wakes up while aniwas is still visiting other places, the person may lose his or her aniwas and become insane. The last one, Ariria, refers to the liberated soul of the dead, the soul who visit relatives and friends in the earth world, asking for them to pray or perform a duty that they failed to do when they were still living. Dungoan may leave the body voluntarily as when the person is asleep, according to the Visayan. Dungoan, or the soul according to the Ilocos, is not usually seen by the naked eye, although dungoan could come out of the body and take visible form of an insect or small animal like lizard. The dungoan may leave the body during sleep and travels outside. Dungoan is normally weak during baby's birth, and thus babies should be protected to avoid busog. Dungoan is revealed as willpower. A strong dungoan indicates that a person can dominate and persecute others to their way of thinking. During death, the dungoan leaves the body through the nose, eyes, and ears, and other openings in the body. The belief of Filipinos did not on soul and spirit. They also believe in the Asian healing. Through faith, healer or espiritista, albularyo, manghihila, magluluop, and magtatawas. The first one, albularyo, it refers as general practitioner and the primary defensor of healthcare. They usually came from family of healers. Ang albularyo po ay madalas natakbuhan ng mga tao, lalo na sa isang lugar, lalo na sa mga baryo na walang nakukuhang tulong mula sa gobyerno, kaugnay sa problema nila sa kalusugan. Ang iba naman ay sinasabi may abilidad talaga sa paggagamot, matapos ipamana ito ng isang kakaibang nilalang. Kadalasan ang mga albularyo ay walang formal na edukasyon. Ang kanilang mga ginagawang paggagamot ay mga namana ng paggagamot mula sa mga nakakatanda o ninuno. Dahil na rin sa pamilyar na isang albularyo sa mga ritual, sa umano'y nakaramdaman ng isang pasyente at ang paraan ng paggagamot kagaya ng dasal, bulong, orasyon at paggamit ng mga medicinal plants. The second one, manghihilasor or manghihilot. Use paraphernalia, especially coconut oil, which is applied to the affected area. Ang manghihilot kadalasang limitado lamang ang ginagawa ng mga hilot sa mga nararamdamang sakit sa katawan na ibsan sa pamagitan ng panghihilot at masahe. Kabilang sa mga kagamitan ng isang hilot ay isang anting-anting, isang empowered na pinamana ng isang guro at mga ilang ritual para malaman ang karamdaman. Isang sinaunang teknika ng pagmamasahe ay paggamit ng simbolo ng cross, koronang tinek, rosaryo, at pagpako ng kamay at paa. Kadalasang ginagamit ng manghihilot ang langis ng nyog or yung coconut oil at mga dahon na ginagawang pantapal sa apektadong parte ng katawan. Nilalapitan ang manghihilot sa mga pilay, tapilok, nabalian at pagmamasahe. The third one, mangluluop. Will conduct a ritual called luop to diagnose the illness. Ang mangluluop ay isang espesyalista para maraman ang sanhi ng nararamdaman sa pamagitan ng ritual na luop. Kabilang sa ginagamit ng ritual ay ang kalanghuga, isang klase ng shell mula sa tubig tabang o tubig alat, asin para umanong manghina ang mga supernatural spirits. Uling mula sa bao ng nyog, tingting at isang lata. Paghalu-haluin ang mga sangkap sa lata at ito ay dadasalan at resulta ay base sa itsura ng pinagsama-samang sangkap sa lata. Pagkatapos nito, papayuhan ng mangluluop ang pasyente ng nararapat niyang gawin. Pagkatapos isagawa ng ritual, dudurugin ng shell habang dinadasalan ng pasyente. Itatapon ng mga ginamit sa ritual sa ilalim ng hagdan para hindi na bumalik ang mga masamang spirito sa bahay. Filipinos believe in usog, bati, or evil eye. Mga karaniwan na nakakaranas ng usog is yung mga baby, lalo na kung sobrang healthy ng mga baby na yon. Like for example, sobrang cute, sobrang taba, sobrang malusog. Pero pwede din siya maranasan ng isang adult or isang teen po. Mga madalas na maranasan natin pag nausog tayo ay pagsakit ng tiyan, pagsakit ng ulo, at madalas nahihilo. Para maiwasan yung usog o yung evil eye, much better kung mag-wear ng red bracelet or thin some chili leaves sa mga infant clothes para sa mga baby. And keeping ginger and garlic in the pocket for adults will prevent those evil eyes and usog. The last one, magtatawas, is best known for the use of tawas or alum for diagnosis. Ang tawas ay isang popular na diagnostic na ritual na sinasagawa ng maraming alternative healers para magbigay ng clue ng sanhi ng kadahilanan ng sakit ng isang pasyente. Nakuha ang pangalan ng magtatawas sa salitang alum or crystal double sulfate ng aluminum o potassium. At mula nga noon, eksklusibong ginamit na ito sa diagnostic ritual. Sa ngayon, ang tawas ay ginagamit sa diagnostic ritual o pamaraan gamit ang iba't ibang bagay gaya ng kandila, itlog, salamin, plain paper, balat ng sigarilyo, at alum.
So classmates, let us move on to the rituals and ceremonies. According to Joseph Campbell, ritual is the enactment of a myth, and by participating in a ritual, you are participating in a myth. Bringing one into accord with their inherent wisdom, by participating in a ritual, great consciousness is reminded of their own life's wisdom, making it crucial. So according to Joseph Campbell, rituals daw ay pag-participate sa isang myth and our consciousness reminds us about our own lives, which makes it important. So the earliest records of civilization shows that rituals including self-care practices, marriage ceremonies, and political traditions have always been present. These rituals, which have been neglected and misinterpreted, are essentials for maintaining balance and harmony in societies. Rituals have several functions such as in asking for good harvest, asking for guidance and protection from unseen forces, to heal the sick, to bring good luck and conceive. Dance and chants are essential part of rituals. So now, let's move on to the classification of rituals. The first one is the mimicry in ritual, the ritual that frequently retells myths or portions of myths. The second one is the rituals, both positive and negative. Positive rituals mostly center on blessing an item or a person, whereas negative rituals emphasize the loss of prohibition. Ritual sacrifice. In the oldest forms of religion, this is frequently observed. This stands out because the sacrifice was completely destroyed as a gift to a higher power, a human being, an animal, crops, or artifacts may be offered as a sacrifice. The last one is the ritual for life crisis. The change from one lifestyle or stage to another, typically this rite serves to define the person's life. An illustration of this is a burial of the placenta soon after childbirth. Now, alamin natin ano nga ba ang functions of rituals. Number 1. Expressions of affective states of mind. Every ceremony is an expression of affective states of the mind of two or more persons. Number 2 is the consciousness of duty. These ceremonies are, however, not spontaneous expressions. A sentiment of obligation is attached to them. It is the duty of everyone in a community to participate in a ceremony. And number three is connected with laws regulating the affective life. Each ceremony may be explained by reference to the fundamental laws regulating the affective life of the community. For example, weaving or embracing are the psychological expressions of the affective life of human beings. Number four is the renewal of social sentiments. Social solidarity requires constant renewal of social sentiments. This function is performed by the ceremonies towards those taking part in it. For example, the peacemaking ceremony is a method by which feelings of enmity are substituted by feelings of friendship. Similarly, the different rituals performed in a marriage ceremony renew the bonds of attachment. To the last one, fulfillment of social needs. It is clear from the above discussion that the ceremonies and rituals are the means to the fulfillment of social needs. These social needs are in their fulfillment as follows. For its existence, a society depends on the presence in the minds of its members of a certain system of sentiments by which the conduct of the individual is regulated in the conformity with the need of the society. This is done by the means of ceremonies and rituals. Sentiments affect social cohesion. Ceremonies and rituals renew social sentiments. Though the sentiments are innate, but they are developed by the actions of society. This development of the sentiment is necessary for the transitions into adulthood. This function is performed by the ceremonies. Ceremonial customs of social society are the means by which sentiments are given collective expressions on appropriate occasions. This helps in maintaining collective consciousness and keeping solidarity in check. The ceremonial expressions of any sentiment serves to maintain it in the mind of the individuals and also to transfer it from one generation to another. Now that we know the functions of rituals, let's move on to the finding and creating meaning in life. By answering questions and identifying a purpose, Viktor Frankl points out the significance of creating meaning in life. People can make the world better and contribute to the making the world better by addressing philosophical, transcendental, and moral issues. Each of us will do it in our own way, starting with ourselves, with our potential and experiences, discovering ourselves every day. Moreover, the meaning of life may not only differ from one person to another, but we ourselves may have a different life purpose at each stage of life. The important thing is for each goal is to give us satisfaction and encouragement to get up in the morning and fight for what we want. Frank developed logotherapy and existential crisis which are based on philosophical and psychological concepts, particularly the desire to find a meaning in life and free will. Frank identified main ways of realizing the meaning in life by making a difference in the world, by having particular experiences, or by adopting in the attitudes. The primary techniques offered by logotherapy and existential analysis are: number one, paradoxical intentions. Clients learn to overcome obsessions or anxieties by self-distancing and humorous exaggeration. Number two, the reflection, drawing the client's attention away from their symptoms, as hyperreflection can lead to inaction. Number three, Socratic dialogue and attitude modification, asking questions designed to help a client and find and pursue self-defined meaning in life. So, classmates, let's move on to discovering the meaning in life. The number one is live with decision. We've all seen before people who handle very tough circumstances with positivity and motivation. How do they do that? We all share the same biological structure. But what sets us apart from these people is their determination. Being determined to achieve something, overcome all obstacles, and fight for what we want, however small, will help us clarify our purpose in each stage of our life. And number two, even if you suffer, have your purpose clear, and you will find strength. Viktor Frank explained in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that there's nothing worse than perceiving that our suffering is useless. However, if you can find a purpose, you won't just endure your suffering, you'll see it as a challenge. And number three, change your attitude to find higher meaning in life. Sometimes life is not fair. Sometimes we work to exhaustions and invest all our time, energy, emotions, and heart, yet only fate hands us setbacks. Every dream we have falls apart. Backing down is more than logical and understandable, but when this happens, we always have two options.
Okay, now let's proceed to our next topic, which is all about ceremonies. So, what is ceremonies? Probably most of us alam na natin what it feels like and what it looks like. Because from our childhood to now, probably nakaranas na tayo ng ceremonies. But we should dig deeper about this. What is ceremonies? Sabi dito, ang ceremonies ay isang coordinated ritualistic performance conducted for a specific purpose and usually incorporating several artistic elements. So, ang ceremonies daw ay ginaganap lang for a specific purpose. Kumbaga, meron siyang pinagkakalaanan na importanteng bagay. Also, according to Dali Messenger III, secular ceremonies are roadmap influences that point the way to a morally righteous and respectable existence. As a Filipino, we hold a big importance and deep respect on our religion. Most especially na ang pinaka-known na religion sa ating bansa ay ang Christianity. Simula pa noon hanggang ngayon, our existence were all influenced by ceremonies because the invincible component of psychological stability, a feeling of identity, assurance of life goals, and a person's sense of self-worth are all influenced by ceremonies. Which basically means that ceremonies are a big part of us. And for that, quality rituals have a strange cultural power that guides our society towards a moral and upright course. Kumbaga, we build high-quality rituals because that's what we believe in. Ito yung pinagniwalaan nating reason for us to live a morally and righteous life and existence. In short, ceremony is an activity performed at a special time with a specific purpose because they mark life's essential moments and they reflect our beliefs, hope, tradition, cultures, and spirituality. Lastly, Messenger III observed ceremonies could help to raise the level of human happiness in society, assist humans to adjust to change, signposts of the culture and indicate that such a culture has a life-affirming substance, means of expressing, reinforcing, and transmitting values, constructed from the visual and performing arts. Ceremonies done well leave lifelong lasting memories and therefore permanent good effects, and it helps to increase the good psychological, cultural, and social outcomes of the people. Now na natapos na natin i-discuss kung ano ang ceremonies, magtungo na tayo sa types of ceremonies. Merong 10 types of ceremonies. Unahin na natin ang pipe ceremony. Pipe ceremony is very sacred to First Nations people. It is used to open negotiation between different nations as a symbol of peace and goodwill. The pipe ceremony is a place for truthful, respectful conversation to take place and for agreements to be made. Kumbaga ginagawa daw ang isang pipe ceremony to open negotiation and agreement between different nations in a way na they show openness, peace, and respectfulness towards one another. But, paano nga ba ginagawa ang pipe ceremony? In the word pipe, may tobacco involved sa ceremony na to. The tobacco in the pipe is traditionally blessed through prayers and then passed around the circle starting with the pipe carrier. But in some nations, kapag gumagawa sila ng circle, merong two, which is the outer and the inner. For the outer, nandun yung mga babae, and yung inner, nandun yung mga lalaki. Plus, women who has their menstrual period were excused to do the ceremony because they believe that they bring too much power that can harm the ceremony. So, hindi sila involved in doing such ceremony. But in other nations, they only form a one big circle and start the ceremony. After creating a big circle, the pipe carrier says prayer to the 7 cardinal points and then passes the pipe around several times. In these ceremonies, the passing process will contain their sentiments, thoughts, and agreements. And lastly, to close the ceremony, each member of the circle might speak a few words of gratitude. This ceremony is used to encourage truthful, respectful conversation and deliberation. Now, let's proceed to the second type of ceremony, which is the wedding ceremony. We all know naman how important such event and moments, most especially to women. We all know how the two couple will exchange their vows and promises to show their faithfulness and love to one another. Yee, sana all. But, setting the jokes aside, wedding ceremonies traditions vary between tribes. But First Nations people have a rich network of rituals that they weave into their wedding ceremonies in order to honor the couple. And there are two rituals weaved by the First Nations people. The first one is the wedding vessel ritual. The parents of the groom might create or procure a vase or vessel of some kind. Traditionally, the parents create the vase out of clay. The vessel has two spouts for drinking and each partner drink from each spout. This symbolizes their individuality even though they drink from the same vessel now that they are joined. Kumbaga, yung parents ng groom magpo-provide or magka-create ng vase na merong two drinking spouts na iinuman nila parehas that symbolizes their individuality and their jointment as a couple. The second one is the wedding blanket ritual. Each partner is wrapped in a separate blue blankets. A blessing is given and the blankets are removed in exchange for a single white blanket wrapped around both of them that symbolizes their new life together. Couples often display this blanket in their homes. In this ritual naman po, the two couples will be separately wrapped into a blue blanket. Then, after nilang ma-bless, papalitan nito into a white blanket that symbolizes their new life together. Nilalagay nila to bilang design sa bahay nila as a remembrance ng pag-iisang dibdib nilang dalawa. The third one is the naming ceremony. In tribal communities, people are given a sacred name, often at different points in time depending on the tribe. Traditionally, when a child is born, the family gathers to reflect on who they might become and settle on the name that might guide them throughout their life. So, naming ceremony, ito yung celebration of birth ng isang bata, which is nagagather yung buong family to reflect or wish kung ano bang gusto nilang maging nung isang bata. This kind of ceremony also referred as baptismal or christening sa panahon natin ngayon. It is when a baby is given a blessing to be guided throughout their journey in life and a remembrance that their family are there to support them. The name is presented to the grandfather spirits in the four directions and everyone present at the ceremony recites the name. This ceremony is often accompanied by a feast and giving gratitude. In other cultures, the parents might seek a medicine man to meditate on or seek the name of their child. The fourth one is the sunrise ceremony. People come together in prayer and to give thanks for all creation. It is a celebration of the sun and a place to give thanks to Grandfather Sun for providing light and warmth. So, nagawa tong ceremony na to bilang pasasalamat to Grandfather Sun for providing light and warmth. Kasi dati, ang Grandfather of Light or Grandfather of Sun means blessings and ito yung pininiwalaan noon ng mga tao na cause of all creation. Kumbaga, yung light sa kanila is very important. That's why they are giving thanks for all the creation because ito yung pinaniniwalaan nila or ito yung kinukonsider nila as their gods. Also, participants might smudge with sage or burn other sacred medicines like sweetgrass and cedar. The fifth one is the Sledge Lodge ceremony. It is a practice by many First Nations people across North America. It is where a fire pit is dug at a special location and rocks are heated. The lodge is built around the fire pit with the opening facing east. Sometimes just the heat from the rock is used and other times water will be poured over the rocks to create steam. Either will make it hot inside the lodge so that participants produce sweat. So, in this kind of ceremony, ang ginagawa lang din nila dito is magsaset sila ng location wherein magkakaroon ng fire pit or magka-create sila or magbibuild sila ng lodge. And inside the lodge will be a fire pit for them to produce sweats. And remember, yung opening nila or yung pinaka-door ng paggawa nila ng lodge dapat facing to east. In short, this kind of ceremony is a purification ceremony wherein participants pray throughout the experience and is meant to be cleansing for all involved depending on their specific needs. Often, a feast is held following the ceremony. Ang pang-anim sa listahan ay ang Sundan Ceremony. It is traditionally held by a tribe once a year in a late spring or early summer as a place for tribes and nomads alike to gather together and reaffirms their basic beliefs about the universe through prayers, rituals, and community. It is an important religious ceremony. In this kind of ceremony, ito yung kumbaga sacrificial ceremony type. Ito yung makikita natin mostly na example sa atin noon na wherein a group of people were dancing through music and using their sacred instruments or sacred objects to give thanks for all the creation, or ito yung ginagawa nilang pasasalamat sa pinaniniwalaan nilang God, and nag-ask sila ng mga blessings and guidance for them. Ito din yung nagsisilbi nilang prayers to give gratitudes, and nagpapakita to ng strong relations among them kasi ginagawa nila to as one community. The seventh on the list is the full moon ceremony. The moon is called Grandmother Moon and is greatly respected because it is believed that the moon cycle is a gift to women. The full moon is considered a great source of power, and women sometimes perform a ceremony to honor and seek guidance from Grandmother Moon. It is where they believe that the moon cycle offers mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual cleansing. Women might pray, ask for renewed energy, take water for the moon to bless, perform music and dance, or burn tobacco for cleansing. Kumbaga, itong ceremony na to is mostly made for women or ginagawa lang ng mga kababaihan dahil kumbaga ito yung pinaniniwalaan nilang God na protect sa kanila or mag-guide sa kanila throughout their life. They greatly respect it because they believe that it gives them strength and power as a woman. Also, it is their way for purifications. 8. The Strawberry Ceremony. It seeks to honor the lives of missing and murdered indigenous women and girls through payment of respect, speeches, songs, and dances. The strawberry is traditionally a woman's fruit and is often referred to as the heart berry in indigenous culture. In short, yung strawberry ceremony daw is referred or connected to strawberry itself na prutas that symbolizes women. And this kind of ceremony is considered as a pay respect for those missing and murdered indigenous women and girls. Kumbaga, ito yung nagbibigay halaga, importansya, at respeto sa mga kababaihan. 9. Potlatch Ceremony. Traditionally used to confer status upon members of the tribe and was used to evenly distribute wealth and power among the community. It comes from the word potlatch, means to give. Ito yung kind ng ceremony na nagko-considered as distribution of wealth para ma-equality sa lahat. Kumbaga ito yung process na pinaghahatian nila lahat ng bagay para evenly distribute siya sa community. It was historically an integral part to governing and maintaining peace in traditional tribes, giving individuals and family the rights to certain names, powers, and territories. Last on the list is the birthing ceremony. Traditions vary between communities, but most often indigenous people prefer for their children to be born within their communities so that they might immediately establish a clear sense of identity. The entire birthing process is considered sacred, and umbilical cord might be kept in a small bag as a sacred object. In this ceremony, binibigyan nila ng halaga yung birthing process ng isang magulang sa kanilang anak. They preferred na manganak ang isang buntis sa community nila para may sense of identity yung bata, kasi para malaman ng bata kung sino at ano sila bilang parte ng isang community. In addition, yung umbilical cord, ito yung ginugupit para mapahiwalay tayo as a baby sa mga magulang natin. Ito yung part ng nasa pusod natin. Tapos, kinikip nila yon as a sacred object kasi binibigyan nila ng importansya mismo yung bata at yung magulang. It is commonly used to designate a whole range of religious beliefs and rituals practices whereby man seeks to gain control over his fate and fortune by supernatural means. Now, let's proceed to our last topic, which is all about magic. Magic, comprised of words and actions of symbolic meaning. commonly used to designate a whole range of religious beliefs and ritual practices whereby man seeks to gain control over his fate and fortune by supernatural means. Magic is said to be a supernatural thing. It is when you have the power to control or influence the course of events using supernatural forces. It often leaves us wondering how and why things happen. As a kid back then, I used to believe in magic. I remember how I used my imagination to create magic in my mind, wishing for my life to change in an instant because of some magical words. But of course, none of them came true as it's just a trick in my mind. Back to the topic, a good example of magic is a witchcraft. Witchcraft and sorcery is said to be terms that describe how humans engage with magic. What is witchcraft? Witchcraft, historically defined as the use of sorcery or magic, or the exercise or invocation of purported supernatural powers to manipulate people or events. In short, ang witchcraft ay isang uri ng paggamit ng mahika kung saan ito ay pinaniniwalaan bilang isang kapangyarihan na kayang manipulahin ang kahit na sino o anumang sitwasyon. In addition, witchcraft came from the word witchcraft and witch, which is derived from the Old English witchcraft, from Wicca, which means masculine, or we say which is feminine, pronounced witcha and wichu, respectively denoting someone who practiced sorcery, and from crave, meaning craft or skill. Kumbaga, ang isang witchcraft ay ginagawa ng, or isang skill ng isang what we call witch, which is the use of sorcery or magic. According to Ronald Hutton, the majority of civilization who subscribe to the idea attribute 5 main traits to witches and witchcraft. Traditionally, beliefs about witchcraft included that it involved using magic to harm or misfortune other people, that it was practiced against one's own community, that it was immoral and frequently involved communion with evil beings, and that it could be stopped by defensive magic, persuasion, intimidation, or physical punishment of the illegal witch. Although witchcraft is said to be helpful for various reasons, many people believe that it is more likely a bad thing to do, because it can cause misfortune and harm to other people. It is also considered immoral since it is often connected to evil or demons. Some believe that to put an end to this practice, defense magic, persuasion, intimidation, or physical punishment of witches could be necessary. There are 2 types of witch practices. One of them are spell casting. A spell casting is a set of words, a formula or verse, a ritual, or a combination of these employed to do a magic. It involves the use of magic to control and manipulate someone's life, actions, or decisions, which can be used for good reasons or to harm people. The second one is necromancy or conjuring, the practice of conjuring the spirit of the dead for divination or prophecy. If spell casting involves the manipulation of someone, necromancy or conjuring on the other hand involves the summoning spirits to connect with them for divination or prophecy. However, these kinds of witch practices can also be used for raising the dead for various reasons, which can have malevolent consequences. Lastly, we can all agree that at some point of our life, or even until now, we believe in such things, and it can be said that these kind of things are basically a part of us. Like how, even now, we celebrate the Day of the Dead and Halloween, where this kind of magic or practices are the subject being involved. It might be true or not, but for sure, these things are some of the things we grew up with without a doubt. And that's all for our today's lesson. Hope you guys learned something from us, and thank you for listening.